The EcomCrew podcast and blog is taking things to the next level. If you haven't had a chance to go to EcomCrew.com lately, you're missing out. We just actually relaunched our new website, and it looks like we just went from Microsoft front page in 1995 to something that looks like it belongs in 2018. I'm so proud of what we've been able to do there, and I want to thank Dave QA for all his help behind the scenes. He's a longtime podcast listener and friend, and he's just doing an amazing job helping us out there. It looks awesome. And as a part of this relaunch, we did a new thing called My EcomCrew, which you can go to by going to myecomcrew.com. It's a free library of resources like training courses and cheat sheets and all my talks from different events. We're just kind of putting all this stuff together. We're limping across the finish line here. You know how it is with a minimal viable product kind of launch, but we have a bunch of stuff already in there. And this week we just added a free 5-part mini course on Amazon, and there's another one coming in a couple of days. So go to myecomcrew.com to sign up today, and also go to ecomcrew.com to check out the new EcomCrew. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Thanks again for supporting the EcomCrew podcast, and now on with the show. This is Mike, and welcome to episode number 120 of the EcomCrew podcast. So glad to have you here today. Don't forget you can go to ecomcrew.com/120 to get to the show notes for this episode. We are only 80 episodes away from 200. I love setting goals and thinking forward to where we're going to be and just, let's see, 40 short weeks from now, because we're doing 2 episodes per week, we'll be at episode 200. I'm already starting the countdown timer. I love this stuff. I love hitting goals and checking them off. And if you remember, one of the goals for this year was to do 100 episodes of the EcomCrew podcast. And the reason I bring up goals is because as we are starting to go through our goals for 2018 is when a pretty big moment happened for me. And I'm going to hold back on what it is for just a second. We'll get right into it because I have a hard start on after the break on what this is. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode of the EcomCrew podcast, and we'll talk to you on the other side of this break. The reality is that one day you wake up and you realize that you're the bottleneck in your own business, and it's time to be fired.
Welcome to the EcomCrew podcast, hosted by Mike Jackness and Dave Bryant, who together run e-commerce businesses that generate 8 figures annually. Mike and Dave take pride in running a podcast that isn't just fluff, talking about specific products, problems, and real-world solutions. In the words of one of our favorite reviews, this podcast is like a playbook for e-commerce. You can take any episode and spend the next month trying to implement it. So without further ado, here's the EcomCrew.
So be honest. Have you ever had that feeling where you just know you're about to get fired from your job? It's just like one of these innate things, like it's kind of coming. I don't know what it is, but you kind of have that feeling, you're going to get fired from your job. And for me, it's really interesting because I have managed to make it to be 41 years old before I ever had this feeling. I've always been kind of an overachiever, and even when I was an employee at other companies, I worked really hard, and the thought of getting fired never occurred to me until recently. And it all kind of started with my goal setting for 2018. And we'll throw in the show notes the episode for that, for the 2018 goal setting. But I'm going to go over the ones that really kind of precipitated this feeling where I realized that I was about to get fired from my own job at my own company, which is good and bad in some cases. There's a saying that I use around here a lot, always be training your replacement, which is something I really believe in. I think that if you aren't always learning and striving to do something new and training someone else to take over your current role, then you'll never advance within a company to take on something new. But let me go over the 6 goals that really precipitated this feeling for me that kind of brought it on pretty quickly before I even really knew it was coming. So the first one here is develop 50 new products for 2018, which puts us on a pace of almost 1 per week. That is a lofty goal in and of itself. We've never even come close to that kind of throughput of new product development. And the definition that we had made for this was to develop 50 new products. So something like cheating, like having 6 different colors or something, doesn't count as 50 or 6 new products. That would be just one with 6 variations. So again, that alone is a big thing to tackle, developing 50 new products over the course of a year. And I would need a lot of help to do that. And that help has come in the form of my wife, Michelle, who's already been working on product development for us. And we have a new hire out right now we're looking to do for product development specifically to help develop some products for us that are more unique from the ground up throughout the course of the year, looking for a sourcing agent to be able to help with all this. And we're pretty far into this development process already for about a dozen SKUs. Jacqueline, our new director of e-commerce, Michelle and myself all went to the Canton Fair back in October, and we made a lot of headway into this. But as we were developing quarter by quarter goals for 2018, we realized just like what a big task this is to tackle to develop 50 new products. And if this wasn't enough, the next thing here is to launch on Amazon Canada, UK, Germany, France, Italy, and hopefully also Australia, all by the end of 2018. And again, this one thing is enough to frighten the average person into getting the shakes at night of, we got to get in all these different marketplaces. There's different tax rules and jurisdictions, languages, and different things to be dealing with. But launching in the foreign marketplaces is definitely a large factor of how we plan on doing our growth in 2018. So that is one of the goals on our list as well. Another thing here is optimizing all of our Amazon listings to increase sales by an average of 50%. Again, on its own, a really large project. We already have a couple hundred SKUs up on Amazon, and we've been able to determine and realize just how far behind the curve we are when it comes to our Amazon listings. And this is being said to something where I was already pretty proud of what we were doing on Amazon. We have highly converting products. We've taken really high quality photographs, and we've had good enhanced brand content, and really been kind of hitting on all cylinders, so we thought, on Amazon listings until I would say midway to 3/4 of the way through last year, when we started upgrading things even more and seeing the impact that had on our sales on Amazon, and realizing that we could potentially get an uplift on our current business, on our current items of 50% or more by doing this. So again, on its own, this is a big project, doing these Amazon listing reviews and improving them. So the list continues to go on here. We have number 4, optimize PPC on Amazon more efficiently. And obviously Amazon is a large portion of our business, so it's a big focus for us. Amazon PPC can be a very large source of waste in a business, and something that we've been very cognizant of. So we want to redo all of our PPC campaigns and really get them running as optimally as possible. We basically know how to do this. It's just a matter of having the time and the execution be able to pull that off. The next thing on here is implement traction. And this is where things really got sticky as far as realizing that I was about to get fired. As we were going through traction and going through their whole process, if you haven't read Traction yet, I highly recommend it. It was recommended to me through a mastermind group. I've talked about it on this podcast a couple times. There will be an entire episode dedicated to this book and this process at some point in the future here, sometime in 2018. But we've already gotten knee deep into this process. And the basic overview of it is setting company core values, setting your core focus, and talking about defining your core focus, setting 10-year goals, a 5-year goal, 3-year goals, 1-year goal, quarterly goals, your marketing strategy, talking about what your issues are in your company, and defining your perfect organizational chart, and so much more. And these are all things that I've thought about from time to time, but hadn't really invested the time on a day-to-day basis to really think it all the way through until you sit down and force yourself to go through the book and the process, something that it takes a lot to really impress me in business these days. Again, I've been doing stuff like this for 15 years and kind of seen it all, done it all, heard it all before, but definitely was taken aback by this book and realized that the hardest thing is to really have a game plan of how you're going to fix something that is broken. And this has definitely been a great model for it. So we've gone through and defined all these things, And I'm going to get back to this in just a second, but it's really where I realized that life for me is got to change completely. But I want to talk about one other goal here, which is to generate $10 million in e-commerce sales in 2018, which is the other part of this goal. So, between traction and having these goals and knowing where we need to go, what is my job going to be in this company moving forward? And it's going to be drastically different than what it has been. As you guys know, we've had Jacqueline on the show before, and I really feel like, I've been fired and she's taken my job, and it's a really interesting position to be in. And it's great. It's great for the company, but it's tough for me to redefine myself yet again. Something that I pride myself on. Someone asked me at ECF Live, and I think we might have even gotten that on tape, and we're going to be doing an episode on that here shortly, but they're asking what my greatest strength is. Like, what do you feel like your greatest strength is? And we were going around the table talking about that. And my answer was just never giving up, like being resilient, never taking no for an answer, always figuring out a way to get things done. You can group all that into one thing. I'm not sure exactly what you call that. So I know that I can and will do this, but it's definitely a very humbling and kind of crazy position to be in, giving up the reins of so many things that I've done in the past. But as a company goes from 0 to 1 million, you face one set of challenges and one set of responsibilities. And then you hire your first employee or two, and then you have another set of challenges and responsibilities as you get to, let's say, 2.5 million. Then you get to 5 million, and there's another whole set of responsibilities because you have more employees and more things to be working on, but things are kind of happening at lightning speed, and you're kind of just holding onto the rocket ship and hoping your fingernails don't fall off. And then now we're in this new phase from going from 5 million to 10 million, and things are definitely changing around here. We have someone else who day to day is handling a lot of the operations and taking that off my plate, which is fabulous. But again, it's also unnerving because one of my other goals on this list is to hand Facebook ads off to someone else in the company, something that brings me enjoyment and gives me satisfaction and gives me a sense of purpose because it's something that I feel like I'm really good at. It helps drive the revenue for the company and moves the needle, and that's going to go away. And basically not only that, but everything else that's kind of put me on the map or made me wake up in the morning and say, this is what I'm going to do, and I know I can do a good job at this. All these things are kind of quickly going onto someone else's plate, and now my role is setting goals and making sure that we have good company benefits and that we're a good place to work and that we're on the right track to hit all of our goals for the year, and setting up dashboards and stats and being a better reviewing accounting and P&L and all these different things that I've always done in some capacity, but always have worked on something else in favor of something that's more exciting, because those things are the less exciting things. But I've realized now that these are the things I have to make exciting for me and on a day-to-day level. And I have to get good at it. Like I have to get really good at it at the same way that I've gotten good at Facebook ads or Amazon PPC or Amazon listings or whatever it might be. And maybe someone else is dictating the Facebook ads and setting them up, and I have to be okay with that. And maybe they'll do a better job than I have. I hope they will. That's certainly the idea, is to hire people that are better at you, and so you're not the smartest person in the room with this stuff. But maybe they won't. Maybe they'll do 80% as good of a job as I've done, and that's something I have to accept as well. Because as we move forward and get to the point where we want to hit this $10 million number, I can't have my hands in all these different pieces of pie. Just absolutely not possible. And I've never had a hard time delegating. That's not the part that's tough. The part that's tough is letting parts of that process go completely, giving up the things that I tend to enjoy more, which are more of the marketing aspects, and letting other people run with those things. Because with 4 brands across our company, there's just too much for one person to do. And the reality is that one day you wake up and you realize that you're the bottleneck in your own business, and it's time to be fired. So a little bit of a short episode today, but a concept that has been on my mind quite a bit today, and in the last 2 months since really setting out these goals and realizing what the repercussions are. And something, if you're at the same size that we are, you might be thinking about as well. And I always like to talk about things that are struggles just as much as things that are exciting. I actually did an episode at the end of the year, my greatest struggles of 2017. I encourage you to go back and listen to that. This is already a struggle in 2018. We're in the first couple of weeks of the year, and definitely something that has become a reality check for me. And I try to be an overachiever and win at everything I do. I was just talking to someone else on our staff about this, and I'm determined to get this right. But it's definitely coming into work and doing a completely different job. Maybe my title's the same, but man, my day-to-day responsibilities are sure a lot different than they were 6 months ago. So it's actually spurred me on to come up with a concept for a new episode titled Day in Mike Jackness's Life. And one of the things I'm going to do sometime here in the next few days is go to a random number generator website and pick a random day on the calendar and just document it, so you can kind of see what I'm dealing with day to day. But it's a lot more meetings and planning and things of that nature, rather than just being in a Facebook account or being in a Zipified landing page or in a ClickFunnels page or whatever it might be. I definitely also see a lot more EcomCrew stuff in my future. So we can document what we're doing with our brands and EcomCrew and creating more content and courses for that. So I think that those will be the things that I'll end up spending most of my time on here moving forward, and just making sure that everyone on our team is rowing in the same direction. That's a really important thing, something that we haven't done the best job of in the past. We've had people, let's say we have 20 people on staff, all doing a good job. We've had pretty good employees for the most part. We're really lucky. But they're not necessarily all on the same page, and that's definitely a part of traction and making sure that we're growing up and getting those things done right moving forward. So that's it for today, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and kind of give you a little bit of things to think about. Maybe you can relate to it. Maybe you're not at that point yet. But I think the main topic or point here for that, if you're still in that 0 to 1 million or 1 to 2.5 or the 2.5 to 5, whatever bucket you fit in, to be thinking about the stuff sooner than later. I think that we waited a little bit too long to tackle this stuff. And I'm glad that there's no time like the present to get started, and we definitely have done a good job and made some amazing strides already in 2018. So I'm happy about that. But there was a post on e-commerce fuel forums the other day about what you wish you had done sooner, and for me, this is one of them. And hiring a high level director type or C-level type person was the other thing. The things I realized that we just waited too long to do. And she's been a big factor in getting this stuff done, because in order to keep good, smart, driven employees, like, you have to have this crap in order. And I've realized that if we don't do it, then we'll lose her and a lot of other people here. And that's really been the driving force of getting this done. So things to be thinking about, folks. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll be back in a few days with another. And until then, happy selling, and we'll talk to you soon. And that's a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the EcomCrew podcast. A little bit different than some of our other episodes. We try to change things up as much as we can. I haven't actually done just me behind a microphone in a long time, and I thought that this was a good episode to do. Always just try to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. We've done episodes on our biggest successes and our biggest failures, and this is not something that I think I'm going through alone. I think a lot of people probably go through this type of thing in their business. It's just not something that we think about day to day. And I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation with myself to you guys, the audience of EcomCrew. Again, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate all of you listeners out there. And again, if you go to ecomcrew.com/120, you can get to the show notes for this episode. And until the next episode of the EcomCrew podcast, happy selling, folks, and we'll talk to you then.
Thanks for listening to the EcomCrew podcast. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/EcomCrew for weekly live recordings of the EcomCrew podcast every Monday. And please do us a favor and leave an honest review on iTunes. It would really help us out. Again, thanks for listening. And until next week, happy selling.